Hello. Hi. Poor Lechi having to deal with a professor that is difficult when it comes to writing. I was pretty lucky when I was doing courses when I was in high school because my teacher was like a creative writing teacher. And so a lot of what I was doing was very simple because it's creative writing. You have a lot of free will with it. But I do understand what you mean by a professor that is just not trying to help you whatsoever. Because when I was in college, I also got graded with F's from my professor in my writing class. And I think I may have said this before. But I got failed twice, and my third paper had to go to a different teacher. And the other teacher gave me an A, which gave me a C in the class. You only have to pass one of the papers in order to pass that class because there's only 3 essays in the entire thing. And that teacher hated me. This is some kind of English literature thingy. I don't know. I don't give a fuck anymore. I mean, sometimes teachers are just like that, but it's kind of hard to say that they're picking favorites when they're being ultimately just opinionated in general on writing, which makes me think that your teacher might have a little bit of a high horse, thinking that he's pretty good with his writing. Let me guess, your professor has posted some books and they got some good reviews. Hey yo, he can S my D. This is why he's balding. Hey yo, yeah, he gets stressed out too much by all the criteria that he creates for himself in order to grade his students' work. That is crazy. And you're going in for what again? I don't think it's literature related, is it? I mean, this is the dude with the 40 plus hours a week worth. What the fuck? Why is he so? Why does he require so much work? If you have other classes, they're supposed to not give you that much work. Doing it for computer science. Okay. I understand where English is important when it comes to computer science, is because you need to understand what is being written in what format. However, it's a lot more straightforward when you're in a team working with computer science because they actually will talk to you and be like, okay, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, let me reiterate it. That is not how, like, some of the stuff that happens when you're taking classes is not what happens in real life. General education class, that is wild. A general education class is costing you that much time. It's not even an advanced one. What the fuck? Only supposed to be 12 hours a week, but his fucking dumbass said to expect 4. What the fuck? Does he just hate people in general? Anyway, we will be reading the last 5 chapters of Warriors today. Warriors Into the Wild, Book 1 of the entire Warrior Cats series. And we are going to be reading from chapter 21 to chapter 25. Hi Holy, thank you for checking in. English literature will not be important in my everyday life. I will not need to know the leaf floated down the river in your coding. Well, oh, trust me, coding language is actually pretty complicated in itself. And every single coding language for every single program is different. And I know this because I actually have taken some coding classes. I did the basic ones, you know, HTML, CSS, Flexbox, and I did a little bit of JavaScript. JavaScript went a little bit over my head. But I did that so that I could get a certificate on top of my degree when I was in college, which was website design. But front end, my love, yes. I love front end work. And we all know that my Discord administrator is actually someone that works with computer stuff. So if you are ever having a trouble, maybe you could ask her, because she is a computer science person and actually does that for a living. You could tell her I sent you. She's not as scary as she looks, okay? If you need to know anything about coding, you could probably ask Walter. But yeah, thank you guys for showing up today. Again, gonna be the last 5 chapters. I'm just having a little bit of a chat since this is gonna be the last 5 chapters of this book. And depending on how everyone feels after this book, we'll probably move on to book 2. Because I think everyone's enjoying it. But I have my microphone actually higher today. I have it where I normally have it. And I feel like when I was having it lower on the desk, I was accidentally bumping it. And it was causing a lot of issues. Especially like with my back. Meanwhile, I can just lightly tap it. And then I can just talk in the other ear, you know? It's a little bit better that way. A little bit easier for me to move my arms around. I don't have to like hug the microphone with the book. I can just lift it up a little bit and put it next to it. Oh. Thank you for the comically large bow, Holy. Look at it, it's bouncy. Bouncy bow. But yeah. If you are struggling with that again, you could probably ask Alter. Alright, you guys. We're going to go ahead and start on chapter 21. And that is going to be 21 through 25. And that will be the end of this book. Once the book is ended, I will be ending stream. It takes approximately 2 hours to read 5 chapters in this book. So please be patient, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you for the lurk, Lechy. Yellowfang has killed Spotted Leaf and taken my kits, screeched Frostfur. The other queens rushed to Frostfur's side and tried to calm her with licks and caresses. But with Frostfur pushed them away and wailed her grief to the darkening sky. As if in reply, the sky rumbled ominously, and a cold wind ruffled the cat's fur. Yellowfang, hissed Tigerclaw. I always knew she was a traitor. Now we know how she managed to fight off the Shadow Clan deputy. It was a setup to let her trick her way into our clan. Lightning crackled overhead, punctuating Tigerclaw's words with a glaring white flash. And a clap of thunder rolled around the woods. Firepaw couldn't believe what he was hearing, dazed with grief. His mind whirled. Could Yellowfang really have killed Spotted Leaf? Above the shocked murmurings, Darkstripe meowed loudly. Bluestar, what do you say? The cats fell silent as they turned to look at their leader. Bluestar's gaze moved across the crowd of cats and settled finally on Spotted Leaf's body. The first drops of rain began to fall, sparkling like dewdrops on the medicine cat's still glossy fur. Bluestar blinked slowly. Grief clouded her face, and for a moment, Firepaw was afraid that this new death would overwhelm her. But but when her eyes opened, they glittered with fierceness that showed her determination to seek revenge for this cruel attack. She lifted her head. If Yellowfang has killed Spotted Leaf and stolen Frostfur's kits, she will be hunted down without mercy. The crowd meowed approvingly. But we must wait, Bluestar went on. There is a storm coming, and I am not prepared to risk more lives. If Shadow Clan has our kits, there will come to no immediate harm. I suspect Broken Star wants them as recruits for his own clan, or as hostages. To force us to let him hunt in our territory. As soon as the storm has passed, the patrol will follow Yellowfang and bring back our kids. We cannot waste time, or the scent will be lost in the rain, Tigerclaw protested. Bluestar flicked a tail impatiently. If we send out a hunting party now, our efforts will be wasted anyway. In this weather, the scent will already be lost by the time we are ready. If we wait until after the storm, we stand a better chance of success. There were murmurs of agreement among the clan. Even though it was barely sun-high, the sky was growing much darker. The cats were unsettled by the lightning and thunder and seemed willing to listen to their leader's advice. Bluestar looked at her deputy. I'd like to discuss our plans with you, please, Tigerclaw. Tigerclaw nodded and stalked away towards Bluestar's den. But the leader hesitated. She glanced at Firepaw, signaling with a flick of her tail and a ripple of her whiskers that she wanted to speak to him alone. The other cats gathered around Spotted Leaf and began to share tongues with her, their wails of grief sounding above the thunder. Bluestar wound her way through them and went towards the fern tunnel that led to Spotted Leaf's den. Firepaw quietly skirted the mourning cats and followed her inside. It was very dark beneath the ferns. The storm had blotted out the morning sun so that it seemed as if night had fallen. Rain was falling more heavily now, spattering noisily against the leaves, but at least it was sheltered in Spotted Leaf's clearing. Firepaw, Bluestar meowed urgently as he arrived at her side. Where is Yellowfang? Do you know? Firepaw hardly heard her. He couldn't help remembering the last time he had come to this clearing. An image of Spotted Leaf, trotting out of her den, with her coat gleaming in the sunlight, burned in his mind, and he closed his eyes to preserve it. Firepaw, snapped Bluestar. Must save your grieving for later. Firepaw shook himself. I saw Yellowfang go through the camp boundary after the kits went missing. Do you really think she killed Spotted Leaf and took the kits? Bluestar gazed steadily at him. I don't know, she admitted. I want you to find her and bring her back. Alive. I need to know the truth. You're not sending Tigerclaw? Firepaw couldn't help asking. Tigerclaw is a great warrior, but in this case, his loyalty to the clan may cloud his judgment, Bluestar explained. He wants to give the clan vengeance it desires. No cat can blame him for that. The clan believes Yellowfang has betrayed us, and if Tigerclaw thinks he can reassure the clan by handing them a dead body of Yellowfang, that is what he will do. Firepaw nodded. She was right. Tigerclaw would kill Yellowfang without question. Bluestar looked stern for a moment. If I find that Yellowfang is a traitor, and I will kill her myself. But if she is not, her blue eyes burned into Firepaws. I will not let an innocent cat die. But what if Yellowfang won't come back? Firepaw meowed. She will, if you ask her. Firepaw felt stunned by Bluestar's faith in him. The enormity of what she was asking him to do weighed down on him, and he wondered if he had enough courage to carry it through. Go at once, she ordered, but be careful. You'll be on your own, and there may be enemy patrols about. This storm will keep our own warriors in camp for a while. Thunder rolled overhead as Firepaw dashed into the clearing. Vane hammered down, pelting against his fur like tiny stones. A bolt of lightning lit up the faces of Darkstripe and Longtail as they watched him cross the clearing. Firepaw bounded past the nursery. He couldn't leave without sharing tongues with Spotted-Leaf. The other cats had run for shelter, abandoning the medicine cat's body to the downpour while they huddled up beneath the dripping ferns, meowing their fear and loss. Firepaw buried his nose in Spotted-Leaf's wet fur and breathed in her scent one last time. "Goodbye, my sweet Spotted-Leaf," he murmured. His ears pricked as he overheard the voices of Frostfur and Speckletail talking nearby. He froze, straining to listen. Yellowfang must have had help, Speckletail growled. "Someone from the ThunderClan," came an anxious voice of Frostfur. "You've heard what Tigerclaw's been saying about Ravenpaw. Perhaps he had something to do with it. I've never felt comfortable with him myself." The fur on Firepaw's spine prickled. If Tigerclaw had been spreading his malicious rumors as far as the nursery, Ravenpaw wouldn't be safe anywhere in the camp. Firepaw realized he had to act quickly. He would find Yellowfang first, then deal with Ravenpaw. He raced to the spot where he had last seen Yellowfang. He knew her scent so well that he could even smell it through the rain-soaked leaves. He began to push through the bushes, mouth open, to detect where her trail led. "Firepaw!" Firepaw jumped and then relaxed as he realized it was Graypaw's voice. "I've been looking for you," he mewed his friend as he rushed towards him. Firepaw gingerly stepped back out of the ferns. Graypaw squinted as the rain dripped down his long fur and into his eyes. "Where are you going?" he mewed. "To look for Yellowfang," Firepaw replied. "On your own?" Graypaw's broad gray face showed concern. Firepaw thought for a moment, decided to tell Graypaw the truth. "Bluestar asked me to bring Yellowfang back," he meowed. "What?" Graypaw looked shocked. "Why you?" "Maybe she thinks I know Yellowfang's best, and that I'd find her more easily." "Wouldn't a party of warriors stand more of a chance?" Graypaw pointed out. "Tigerclaw was the best tracker in the clan, and if anyone could bring her back, he could." "Maybe Tigerclaw wouldn't bring her back," Firepaw murmured. "What do you mean?" "Tigerclaw's out for revenge. He would just kill her." "But if she killed Spotted-Leaf and took the kids?" "Do you really believe that?" Firepaw asked. Graypaw looked at his friend, shaking his head in confusion. "Do you think she's innocent?" he mewed. "I don't know," Firepaw admitted, "and neither does Bluestar." She wants to find out the truth. That's why she's sending me instead of Tigerclaw. Or if she ordered Tigerclaw to bring her back alive. Greypaw's words were drowned by the deafening crack of thunder, and a flash of lightning lit up the trees around them. In the dazzling light, Firepaw glimpsed Frostfur chasing Ravenpaw away from the nursery. The White Queen's face was twisted with fury as she hissed at the young black cat and lunged forward to give him a warning nip on the hind leg. Greypaw turned to Firepaw. "What's that all about?" he mewed. Firepaw stared back at his friend, his mind leaping ahead to a new idea. It looked like Ravenpaw's time had run out, and Firepaw needed Greypaw's help. But would his friend believe him? The wind was beginning to roar through the trees above them, and Firepaw had to raise his voice. "Ravenpaw's in great danger," he meowed. "What?" "I have to get him away from ThunderClan, right now, before anything happens to him." Greypaw looked puzzled. "Why? What about Yellowfang?" "There's no time to explain," Firepaw mewed urgently. "You'll just have to trust me. There must be a way we can get Ravenpaw away. Bluestar's going to keep the warriors in camp till the storm is over. But that doesn't leave us much time." He tried to picture the hidden corners of the woods beyond ThunderClan territory. We'll have to take him somewhere Tigerclaw won't find him. Somewhere he can survive without a clan. Greypaw stared at him for a moment. "What about Barley?" "Barley?" Firepaw echoed. "You mean take Ravenpaw to the two-leg place?" His ears twitched with excitement. "Yes, that might be the best idea." "Come on then," mewed Greypaw. "What are we waiting for?" Relief washed over Firepaw. He should have known his old friend would help. He shook the rain from his head, then touched Greypaw's fur with his nose. "Thank you," he purred. "Now let's get Ravenpaw." They found their friend huddled miserably inside their den. Sandpaw and Dustpaw were in their nests too, looking tense and scared as the storm crashed overhead. "Ravenpaw," Firepaw hissed through the entrance. Ravenpaw looked up. Firepaw flicked his ears, and the black cat followed him out into the storm. "Come on," Firepaw whispered. "We're taking you to Barley." There is going to be an ad in 3 minutes, so if you have not already, please make sure to turn down the volume so you are not spooked. Other than that, please enjoy yourself. "Barley," Ravenpaw mewed in bewilderment, his eyes glaring against the driving rain. "Why?" "Because you'll be safe there," Firepaw answered, looking the black cat straight in the eye. "Did you see what Frostfur did?" mewed Ravenpaw, his voice quivering. "I was only going to check on the kids." "Come on," Firepaw interrupted him. "You must hurry." Ravenpaw met his friend's gaze. "Thanks, Ravenpaw." I'm gonna get some water real quick, hang on. Are you telling me it ended stream on me? What the heck? How far back was that? I've been reading this whole time. What the fuck? Wait. Okay. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go. Where was the last? Where's the last of it? Hold on. I'm gonna have to figure out now. What the heck? Why did it end stream on me for no reason? I did not hit end stream. I'm gonna have to figure out where it left off now. Let's see. You know what? I may just have to start over. That sucks. I want all of it to be in one stream, but I might be able to just clip the videos together, I don't know. Let's find out where the heck I left off on when it ended stream. I drank water and died? Is that... Oh, hang on. If it was when I drank water. Where was that? Oh, there it is. Okay. I remember where I was drinking water from. I know the exact sentence because I messed it up. I'm going to snooze that ad. Ignore that ad. We're snoozing that ad because it messed up. But I know exactly where it left off now that you told me that. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna drink more water. I'll have to stitch the videos together from the VODs so I can send it to YouTube, but it'll be fine. I will start back where it decided to cut out at. I have no clue why Twitch decided to do that. Anyway. Ravenpaw met his friend's gaze. "Thanks, Firepaw," he murmured, and he turned into the wind and bounded across the clearing. The three apprentices rushed towards the camp entrance, their fur flattened by the howling wind. As they entered the gorse tunnel, a voice called them back. "You three, where are you going?" It was Tigerclaw. Firepaw whirled around, feeling his heart sink. He wondered desperately what he could say when he spotted Bluestar striding towards them. She frowned for a moment, and her face cleared. "Well done, Firepaw," she meowed. "I see you persuaded your two friends to go with you. ThunderClan has brave apprentices, Tigerclaw, if they are willing to run an errand in weather like this." "Surely this is not a time for errands," objected Tigerclaw. "What if Brindleface's Kits has a cough?" Bluestar's voice was icily calm. "Firepaw has offered to fetch some coltsfoot for her." "Does he really need his friends to go too?" asked Tigerclaw. "In this storm, I think he's lucky to have the company," answered Bluestar. She looked deep into Firepaw's eyes, and he was suddenly aware of the trust she was placing in him. "Off you go, you three," she meowed. Firepaw returned her gaze gratefully. "Thank you," he purred, dipping his head. With a swift glance at his companions, he led the way along familiar paths through four trees. The wind roared through the branches above them, and the trees swayed, their trunks creaking and cracking as though they might fall at any moment. The rain poured down through the leaves, soaking the cats to their hides. They reached the stream, but the stepping stones they usually leaped across had completely disappeared. The cat stopped on the bank and looked down in dismay at the wide, brown, swirling river. "This way," Firepaw meowed. "There's a fallen tree up here. We can use it to cross." He led Greypaw and Ravenpaw upstream to a log that rested only a kitten's size above the rushing water. "Be careful, it'll be slippery," Firepaw warned, leaping carefully up onto it. The log's bark had been stripped away, leaving only smooth, wet wood to balance on. Carefully, the three cats walked along the trunk. Firepaw jumped down on the other side and watched his friends until they, too, had landed safely. The trees were bigger on the other side, offering some shelter from the storm as they hurried on, side by side. "Are you going to tell me exactly why we need to get Ravenpaw away?" panted Greypaw. Because he knows that Tiger Claw killed Redtail, Firepaw answered. Tiger Claw killed Redtail? Greypaw echoed in disbelief, stopping dead and staring first at Firepaw, then at Ravenpaw. At the battle with RiverClan, puffed Ravenpaw. I saw him. But why would he do that? Greypaw protested, setting off again. They started down the slope that led into the clearing at Four Trees. I don't know. Maybe he thought Bluestar would make him deputy, Firepaw suggested, raising his voice against the wind. Greypaw didn't reply, but his face darkened. The cats began to climb the steep slope that led up to WindClan territory. As Firepaw leaped upwards from rock to rock, he called down to Greypaw behind him. He wanted his friend to understand just how dangerous it was for Ravenpaw and the ThunderClan camp. I overheard Tigerclaw talking to Darkstripe and Longtail on the night Lionheart was killed, he yelled. He wants to get rid of Ravenpaw. Get rid of him? You mean kill him? Greypaw sat heavily on a rock. Firepaw stopped too. He looked down at his friends. Ravenpaw had halted farther down the slope, his sides heaving as he caught his breath. He looked smaller than ever, with his sodden fur clinging to his scrawny body. You saw the way Phosphor went for Ravenpaw today? Firepaw meowed to Greypaw. Tigerclaw's been hinting to everyone that Ravenpaw is a traitor. But he'll be safe with Barley. Now come on, we must hurry. It was impossible to talk in the open expanse of WindClan territory. The wind howled around them while the thunder and lightning rolled and flashed overhead. The three cats lowered their heads and pushed onward into the heart of the storm. Eventually, they reached the edge of the plateau that marked the end of WindClan's territory. We can't take you any farther, Ravenpaw, meowed Firepaw through the gale. We have to get back and find Yellowfang before the storm has passed. Ravenpaw looked up through the battering rain, alarmed, then he nodded. Will you be able to find Barley alone? Yelled Firepaw. Yes, I remember the way, answered Ravenpaw. Watch out for those dogs, warned Greypaw. Ravenpaw nodded. I will. Suddenly he frowned. How can you be sure Barley will welcome me? There's going to be an ad in 3 minutes. Please turn down the volume if you have not already. Just tell him you caught an adder once, answered Greypaw, affectionately nudging his friend's rain-soaked shoulder. Go, Firepaw urged, aware that time was short. He licked Ravenpaw's skinny chest. And don't worry. I make sure everyone knows you didn't betray ThunderClan. What if Tigerclaw comes looking for me? Ravenpaw's voice was small against the rumbling storm. Firepaw met his gaze steadily. He won't. I shall tell him you are dead. That is the end of chapter 21. We are going to now move on to chapter 22. Firepaw and Greypaw retraced their steps to ThunderClan territory. Both cats were bone-weary and wet through, but Firepaw kept up the pace. The storm was beginning to move away. A ThunderClan patrol would be out soon in Yellowfang's trail. They had to find her first. The sky was still dark, even though the black thunderclouds were beginning to roll away towards the horizon. Firepaw guessed that it must be nearly sunset. Why don't we head straight into the ShadowClan territory, suggested Greypaw as they ran down the steep hillside to Four Trees. We need to pick up Yellowfang's scent first, Firepaw explained. I just hope it won't lead to ShadowClan camp. Greypaw glanced sideways at his friend, but didn't reply. They headed back over the stream into ThunderClan territory. There was no scent of Yellowfang until they crossed into the oak woods close to the camp. Now that the rain has finally stopped, the scents around them were beginning to return. Firepaw hoped that the rain had not washed away Yellowfang's trail completely. He stopped and brushed at a fern with the tip of his nose and recognized the familiar smell. Yellowfang's fear scent prickled in his nostrils. She came this way, he meowed. He pushed his way through the wet undergrowth. Graypaw followed. The rain was easing and the thunder was fading into the distance. Time was running out. Firepaw pushed on faster. To his dismay, he realized Yellowfang's scent was indeed leading them straight to ShadowClan territory. His heart sank. Did this mean Tigerclaw's accusations were true? Firepaw began to hope that each new smell would take them in a different direction, but the trail was unfaltering. They arrived at the Thunderpath and halted. Several monsters roared by, throwing up fountains of dirty water. The two cats hung back from the edge of the wide gray track until there was a gap. Then they raced across the path and into ShadowClan territory. The scent markers that lined the border made Firepaw's paws tingle. Graypaw halted and looked around nervously. I always thought I'd have a few more warriors with me when I finally entered ShadowClan territory, he confessed. Now that the ad is started, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break to go ahead and stretch and drink some water. I will be right back. Let me go ahead and get the sticky up. I am back. Holy doing a buffer. Holy is a silly. Alright, let's see where I left off, huh? Graypaw halted and looked around nervously. I always thought I'd have a few more warriors with me when I finally entered ShadowClan territory, he confessed. Not afraid, are you? Firepaw murmured. Aren't you? My mother warned me about the stench of ShadowClan many times. My mother never taught me such things, Firepaw replied. But for the first time, he was relieved that his fur was so wet that it clung to his body. Graypaw might not notice the way it was bristling fearfully along his spine. The two cats prowled onwards, alert to every sight and sound. Graypaw was on the lookout for ShadowClan patrols, and Firepaw for the ThunderClan party he knew would come soon. Yellowfang's scent trail led them steadily into the heart of ShadowClan's hunting grounds. The woods here were gloomy, and the undergrowth crowded with nettles and brambles. I can't smell her, complained Graypaw. It's too wet. It's there, Firepaw assured him. I can smell that, though, Graypaw spat suddenly. What? Firepaw hissed. He stopped, alarmed. Kit scent. There's kit blood here. Firepaw sniffed again, seeking out the smell of ThunderClan offspring. I smell it too, he agreed. And something else. He flicked his tail down sharply, warning Graypaw to keep quiet. And silently, he signaled with his whiskers toward a blackened ash tree up ahead. Graypaw twitched his ears questioningly. Firepaw gave him a tiny nod. Yellowfang was sheltering behind the wide, split trunk. Instinctively, the two cats separated, each moving toward the tree, one on the other side. They crept over the soft forest floor, using all the tricks of basic training, stepping lightly to keep their bodies low. Then they leaped. Yellowfang yowled with surprise as the two cats landed beside her and pinned her to the ground. She struggled free, spitting, and backed into a sheltered hollow at the base of the trunk. Firepaw and Graypaw moved forward, blocking her way out. I knew ThunderClan would blame me, she hissed, her eyes flashing with all her old hostility. Where are the kits? Firepaw demanded. You can smell their blood, spat Graypaw. Have you harmed them? I don't have them, snarled Yellowfang angrily. I've come to find them and take them back. I stopped because I smelled blood too, but they're not here. Firepaw and Graypaw looked at one another. I don't have them, insisted Yellowfang. Why did you run away then? Why did you kill Spotted Leaf? Graypaw asked the questions Firepaw couldn't bring himself to say out loud. Spotted Leaf is dead? There's no mistaking the shock in Yellowfang's voice. The leaf washed over Firepaw. You didn't know? He croaked. How could I? I left the camp as soon as I heard the kids were missing. Botch got itself banned. Good job, Stream Elements. Graypaw looked suspicious, but Firepaw could hear the truth in her voice. I know who has taken the kits, she continued. I smelled his scent near the nursery. Who was it? Firepaw asked. Clawface, one of Broken Star's warriors. And as long as the kits are with the ShadowClan, they're in great danger. But surely even ShadowClan wouldn't harm kits, Firepaw protested. Don't be so sure, spat Yellowfang. Broken Star intends to use them as warriors. But they are only 3 moons old, Graypaw gasped. That hasn't stopped him before. He's been training kits as young as 3 moons since he became leader. At 5 moons, he sends them out as warriors. Surely they'd be too small to fight, Firepaw protested. In his mind's eye, he pictured the undersized ShadowClan princesses he had seen at the gathering. They weren't just small, they were kids. Yellowfang hissed scornfully. Broken-Star doesn't care about that. He has plenty more kits to spare, and if they run out, he can steal them from the other clans. Her voice was filled with rage. After all, we're talking about a cat who has killed kits from his own clan. Firepaw and Greypaw were stunned. If he killed ShadowClan's kits, why wasn't he punished? Firepaw asked at last. Because he lied, growled Yellowfang. Bitterness made her voice hard. He accused me of their murder, and ShadowClan believed him. Firepaw suddenly understood. Is that why you're driven out of ShadowClan? He asked. You have to come back with us to tell Bluestar. Not before I rescue your kits, Yellowfang spat. Firepaw lifted his head and sniffed the air. The rain had stopped, and the wind was dying down. The ThunderClan patrol would be well on its way. They were not safe here. Greypaw still seemed shocked by Yellowfang's accusation. How could a leader kill kits from his own clan, he demanded. Broken-Star insisted on training them too hard and too young. He took 2 of the kits away for battle practice. Yellowfang took a deep, wheezing breath. They are only 4 moons old. And I just got DMs. Who DM'd me? Oh, there's a notification. Wampus is streaming, probably. Yep, look at that. Wampus is streaming. You know what? Definitely just, yep, there. Now I'm lurking for Wampus. No one tell Wampus I'm lurking. They were already dead when he brought them back to me. They bore the scratches and bites of a full warrior, not of apprentices. He must have fought them himself. There was nothing I could do. When their mother came to see them, Broken-Star was with me. He said that he had found me standing over their dead bodies. Her voice cracked and she looked away. Why didn't you tell her it was Broken-Star? Firepaw asked in relief. Yellowfang shook her head. I couldn't. Why not? The old she-cat hesitated. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with regret. Broken-Star is ShadowClan's leader. Noble Ragged Star was his father. His word was law. Firepaw looked away, and the 3 cats sat in silence for a moment. Then Firepaw meowed. We'll rescue the kits together. Tonight, we can't stay here. I can smell the ThunderClan patrol coming. He paused. The Tiger Claw is with them. Yellowfang does not stand a chance. He'll kill her before we can explain. Yellowfang looked at him, alert and determined again. There's peat this way. You'll be wet after the rain, she told him. Our scents will be disguised there. She leaped into a clump of ferns, and Firepaw and Greypaw quickly followed her. They could hear the rustling of undergrowth in the distance now. It was no longer the wind that disturbed the bushes, but an approaching patrol, no doubt hungry for revenge, and fired out by Tiger Claw's lives. An eerie stillness settled over the woods, and a thin fog was beginning to gather between the tree trunks. Firepaw shook the droplets off his coat and impatiently pulled the fur off his chest. Yellowfang led them onwards. The ground grew soggier, and their paws began to sink into the soft peat. The musty smell choked Firepaw's nostrils, but at least it would mask their own trail. Behind them, the noise of the cat grew louder. Quick, under here, Yellowfang urged, ducking under a broad-leaf bush. 3 cats crouched beneath it, drawing in their tails. Firepaw kept as still as he could, trying to ignore the rank wetness of the ground seeping into his belly fur, and listening to the rustling of the ThunderClan patrol as it came nearer and nearer. That was the end of chapter 22. We are going to also go ahead and start chapter 23. Firepaw could tell there were several cats in the patrol, traveling fast. He couldn't recognize the individual scents of the cats through the earthy bog odors, but he knew it was ThunderClan. He held his breath as the paw steps raced past and away. Are we really going to try to rescue the kits from ShadowClan alone? Whispered Greypaw. Yellowfang answered him first. I might be able to find us some help from inside ShadowClan. Not all the cats support Brokenstar. Firepaw pricked up his ears, and Greypaw flicked his tail in surprise. When he became leader, Yellowfang explained, Brokenstar forced the elders to leave the security of the inner camp. They had to live on the boundary and hunt for themselves. These are cats who have grown up with the warrior code. Some of them might help us. Firepaw stared into her old eyes, thinking quickly. I might be able to persuade the ThunderClan hunting party to help us too. He meowed. If I can speak to them before they see Yellowfang, I might be able to stop them and make them believe her story. Greypaw, you wait at the dead ash where we smelled the kit blood till one of us returns. Greypaw looked worried. But do you really trust Yellowfang to bring back help? He murmured to Firepaw. You must trust me, growled Yellowfang. I will return. Greypaw looked at Firepaw, who nodded. Without another word, Yellowfang sprang past the two princesses and disappeared into the bushes. Have we done the right thing? Asked Greypaw. I don't know, Firepaw admitted. If we have, we are heroes and the kits are safe. If we are wrong, then we are as good as dead. Firepaw sprinted after the patrol, around brambles, past the gorse, and through nettles. The trail was easy to follow. The angry ThunderClan cats weren't trying to disguise their presence in ShadowClan's territory. Overhead, the thick layer of a cloud had finally rolled away. Beyond the treetops, silverpelt glittered across the night sky. The moon was just rising, but its cold light couldn't pierce the mist that clung to the shadowy undergrowth. Firepaw concentrated on the scent from up ahead. He could smell Whitestorm. He sniffed again. Tigerclaw wasn't with them. He raced to catch up and skidded to a halt behind the band of ThunderClan cats. The warriors turned and glared at him, fur bristling, ears flattened aggressively. Darkstripe was with them, and the young she-cat Mousefur, as well as the tabby warrior Runningwind. Mousefur wasn't the only she-cat in the patrol. Willowpelt was there too. Firepaw, growled Whitestorm. What are you doing here? Firepaw gasped for breath. Bluestar sent me, he panted. She wanted me to find Yellowfang before... Whitestorm interrupted him. Ah, he meowed. Bluestar told me I might find a friend out here. Now I understand what she meant. He looked thoughtfully at Firepaw. Is Tigerclaw nearby? Firepaw asked, feeling a tingle of pride at their shared gaze. Whitestorm looked at him curiously. Bluestar insisted she needed him to remain at camp to protect the remaining kits. Firepaw nodded quickly, relieved. He meowed urgently. Whitestorm, I need your help. I can lead you to the kits. Greypaw is waiting for me. We plan to rescue them tonight. Will you come? Of course we'll come, the warriors flicked their tails with excitement. It will mean raiding the Shadow Clan camp, Firepaw warned. Can you lead us there? Asked Running Wind eagerly. No, but Yellowfang can. And she has promised to bring help of her old allies from the camp. Mousefur glared at him and thrashed her tail angrily. You found Yellowfang? She hissed. I don't understand, meowed Whitestorm, puzzled. The traitor is going to help rescue the kits she stole? Firepaw took a deep breath to calm himself and looked steadily into Whitestorm's eyes. Yellowfang didn't take them, he meowed, nor did she murder Spotted Leaf. She wants us to help and rescue the kits. Whitestorm stared back at him, then blinked slowly. Lead the way, Firepaw, he ordered. Greypaw was waiting by the ash tree, pacing restlessly around its rotten trunk. He stopped as soon as he saw a patrol emerge from the mist and twitched his whiskers in greeting. Any sign of Yellowfang? Firepaw asked. Not yet, answered Greypaw. We don't know how far it is to the Shadow Clan camp. Firepaw pointed out quickly, feeling Whitestorm stiffen behind him. She may be on her way back right now. Or she might be happily sharing tongues with her Shadow Clan comrades where we sit here like fools waiting to be ambushed, meowed Greypaw. Whitestorm watched the two apprentices, whose ears flicked uneasily. Firepaw, he prompted. She'll come back, Firepaw promised. Well said, young Firepaw. Yellowfang stalked out from behind the ash tree and sat down. You're not the only one who can sneak up on someone. She meowed at Firepaw. Remember the day we met? You're looking at the wrong direction at that time, too. The other Shadow Clan cats appeared from behind the tree and settled themselves calmly on either side of Yellowfang. The ThunderClan cats bristled, alert and suspicious. Both clans stared silently at each other. Firepaw fidgeted uncomfortably, unsure what to do now. Eventually, one of the Shadow Clan cats, a Grey Tom, spoke. His long body was skinny, and his fur looked dull. We have come to help you, not to harm you. You have come for your kits. We will help you rescue them. What's in it for you? Asked Whitestorm warily. We want your help to get rid of Brokenstar. He has broken the warrior code, and Shadow Clan is suffering. So it's that simple, is it? Growled Running Wind. You just drop into your camp, snatch the kits, kill your leader, and go home. You'll not meet as much resistance as you think, murmured the Grey Tom. Yellowfang stood up. Let me introduce my old friends, she meowed, weaving her way around the Shadow Clan cats. She brushed past the Grey Tom. This is Ashfur. He is one of the clan elders. And this is Nightpelt, a senior warrior before Ragged Star was killed. She circled and battered a battered black Tom who nodded at them. And this one is one of our elder queens, Dawncloud. 2 of her kits died driving out WindClan. Dawncloud, a small tabby, meowed in greeting. I do not wish to lose any more of my kits, she told them. Whitestorm gave his chest a quick lick to smooth down his fur. Very clearly skilled warriors if you manage to creep up on us like that. But are there enough of you? We need to know what we'll face when we raid the Shadow Clan camp. The old and sick of Shadow Clan are slowly starving, meowed Ashfur. The casualties among our kits are more than we can cope with. But if Shadow Clan is a mess, burst out Darkstripe, how come you have shown so much strength lately? And why is Brokenstar still your leader? Broken Star is surrounded by a small group of elite warriors, answered Ashfur. They are the ones to fear because they would die for him without question. The other warriors obey his orders only because they are frightened. They will fight by his side as long as they think Broken Star is going to win. If they thought he would lose, they would fight against him, not for him. Darkstripe finished the elder's words in disgust. What sort of loyalty is that? The hackles of the Shadow Clan cats began to rise. Our clan was not always like this. Yellowfang interrupted. When Ragged Star led Shadow Clan, we were feared for our strength. But in those days, our strength came from the warrior code and clan loyalty, not from fear and bloodlust. The old medicine cat sighed. If only Ragged Star had lived longer. How did Ragged Star die? Asked Whitestorm curiously. There's so many rumors at the gatherings, but no one seemed to know for sure. Yellowfang's eyes clouded with sorrow. He was ambushed by a warrior patrol from another clan. Whitestorm nodded thoughtfully. Yes, that is what most cats seem to think. These are bad times indeed, when leaders are picked off in the dark, instead of open and honorable battle. Firepaw frowned, his mind racing over different battle plans. Is there any way of taking the kits without alerting the whole clan, he asked. Dawncloud answered him. They are very closely guarded. Broken Star will be expecting ThunderClan to try and take them. You won't be able to steal them in secret. Open attack is your only hope. Then we must concentrate our attack on Broken Star and his inner guard, meowed Whitestorm. Yellowfang had a suggestion. The Shadow Clan warriors should lead me into the Shadow Clan camp. They could say they had captured me. They had to make sure Broken Star and his warriors are out of their dens. News of my capture will bring them into the clearing. Once they're all out in the open, I'll give the signal for you to attack. Whitestorm was silent for a moment. Then he nodded, his face grave as he committed his warriors to the attack. Very well, Yellowfang, he meowed. Please lead the way to the Shadow Clan camp. That was the end of chapter 23. I'll move on to chapter 24. There is going to be an ad in 3 minutes. If you have not already, please make sure to lower your volume and so that you are not spooked. Yellowfang turned and pushed away into the bracken. Whitestorm and the others followed her. Firepaw was tingling with excitement. He didn't feel the damp chill in the air, and his weariness was long forgotten. Yellowfang guided them to a small hollow surrounded by thick undergrowth and pointed out the entrance to the Shadow Clan camp. The tangled mass of brambles looked very different from the neat gorse tunnel that led into the ThunderClan camp. The camp boundary was full of holes and gaps as the stench of rotting meat wafted towards them. You eat crow food? Whispered Greypaw, curling his lip. Our warriors are used for attacking, not hunting, replied Ashfur. We eat whatever we can find. ThunderClan. Hide in that clump of bracken over there, hissed Yellowfang. It's full of toadstools. Now disguise your scent. Wait here until you hear me call. She stepped back to let the other Shadow Clan cats lead the way, tucking herself into the center of their group, as though she was their prisoner. They headed silently into the camp. The ThunderClan cats settled themselves among the toadstools, tense and alert. Firepaw could feel his coat prickling. He looked at Greypaw beside him. The thick fur on the back of his friend's neck was standing on Firepaw could hear him panting with suppressed excitement. Suddenly, yowling erupted from the ShadowClan camp. Without hesitating, the ThunderClan cats sprang from their hiding places and raced through the entrance. Yellowfang, Asfer, Dawncloud, and Nightpelt were in a well-trodden, muddy clearing, wrestling with 6 vicious-looking warriors. Firepaw recognized Brokenstar and his deputy, Blackfoot, among them. The warriors looked hungry and battle-scarred, but Firepaw could see the hard muscles pounding beneath their patchy fur. Around the edge of the clearing, groups of scrawny cats stared uncertainly at the mayhem. The skinny bodies seemed to recoil at the violence, while their dull eyes looked on, shocked and confused. Out of the corner of his eye, Firepaw saw Running Nose back away and hide beneath a bush. At Brightstorm's nodded signal, the ThunderClan cats leaped into battle. Firepaw grasped a silver tabby with his claws, but was shaken loose. He tumbled over, and the ShadowClan warrior turned on him and gripped him with claws as sharp as blackthorns. Firepaw managed to twist and sink his teeth deep into the cat's flesh. The warrior's yowl told him he had found a tender spot, and he bit harder. The warrior screeched again, ripping himself free, and ran off into the bushes. Firepaw stood up. A young ShadowClan apprentice leaped at him from the edge of the camp, its soft kitten fur fluffed up with fear. The ads have started, so I'm going to go ahead and take another quick break so I can stretch. So I will be right back. I'm back. Let me go ahead and find the place where I was at. Firepaw sheathed his claws and batted him away easily. "This is not your battle," he hissed. Whitestorm already had Blackfoot pinned to the ground. He gave him a vicious bite, and the injured deputy raced away toward the camp entrance and out into the safety of the forest. Firepaw! Firepaw heard Dawncloud screech his name. "Watch out! Clawfaces!" He didn't hear the rest. A heavily built brown cat came crashing into him. Clawface. Firepaw dug his claws into the ground and whirled around to fight. The warrior that killed Spotted Leaf. Rage surged through him, and he flung himself onto the brown tom. Firepaw pushed the warrior to the ground and pressed his head into the dirt. Blinded by fury, he prepared to sink his teeth into Clawface's neck. But before he could deal his death blow, Whitestorm knocked him aside and grasped the ShadowClan warrior. The ThunderClan warriors do not kill unless they have to, he growled in Firepaw's ear. You just need to let them know not to show their faces here again. He gave Clawface a fierce bite that sent him screaming out of the camp. Still raging, Firepaw looked around wildly. Brokenstar's warriors had gone. An angry screech sounded from behind Greypaw. Greypaw leaped out of the way, and Firepaw saw Yellowfang gripping Brokenstar with muddy, blood-stained paws. His body bled from several wounds. His ears were flattened against his head, and his whiskers were drawn back as he crouched, flattened beneath Yellowfang's powerful grasp. I never thought you would be harder to kill than my father, he snarled up at her. Yellowfang recoiled as if she had been stung by a bee. Her face twisted suddenly by shock and grief. She loosened her grip on Brokenstar, and instantly he threw her aside with a twist of his powerful body. You killed Ragged Star? Yellowfang wailed, her eyes wide in disbelief. Brokenstar eyed her coldly. You found his body. Didn't you recognize my fur between his claws? Yellowfang stared in horror as he continued. He was a soft and foolish leader who deserved to die. No, hissed Yellowfang, her head dropping. Then she gave herself a shake. She looked up at Brokenstar, arching her back. And Bright Flower's kids? Did they deserve to die too? She rasped. Brokenstar growled and hurled himself at Yellowfang, forcing her onto her belly. Yellowfang didn't even attempt to struggle against his thorn-sharp claws. Firepaw saw alarm that her eyes were glazed with sadness. Those kids were weak, Brokenstar hissed, bending his face toward Yellowfang's ear. They would have no use to ShadowClan. If I didn't kill them, some other warrior would have. A wail of grief went up from the black and white ShadowClan queen. Brokenstar ignored her. I should have killed you when I had the chance. Oh hi, welcome in. How are you doing? I am currently reading Warriors, Book 1, which is Into the Wild, and we are currently at the end of the book. We have about 5 or 6 pages left, so we are in the part where everything kind of gets revealed. I should have killed you when I had the chance, he spat at Yellowfang. Have you read up the most recent book? I read about 3 or 4 of the books, and that was when I was a lot younger. So currently I have the entire series, and I am reading book 1, and I am hoping to read the rest of the books while on stream. But I have all the series, and I also have the sub-series, so I can do that. It seems I must have some of my father's softness. I was a fool to let you leave ShadowClan alive. He lunged, teeth bared, ready to sink them into her neck. Firepaw was quicker. He jumped onto Brokenstar's back. Thank you for the follow. Before he could clamp his jaws shut, Firepaw dug his claws into the matted tabby fur and pulled him off the exhausted queen, flinging him to the edge of the clearing. Broken Star twisted around in midair to land on his feet and looked into Firepaw's eyes, spitting viciously. Don't waste your time, apprentice. I've shared dreams with StarClan. You'll have to kill me 9 times over before I join them. Do you really think you are strong enough for that? His eyes glowed with confidence and defiance. Firepaw stared back at him, his belly tightened. Broken Star was a clan leader. How on earth could he expect to defeat him? But the watching ShadowClan cats had began to pad slowly toward their defeated leader, snarling and hissing with hatred. They were battered and half-starved, but Broken Star was outnumbered, and he seemed to realize with a nervous flick of his tail. He crouched and backed away through the bushes, his eyes glittering menacingly from the shadows, his gaze finding Firepaw through the crowd. This isn't over, apprentice, he hissed before he turned and vanished into the forest after his broken warriors. Firepaw looked to Whitestorm. Should we go after them? He meowed. The warrior shook his head. I think they got the message that they are not welcome here. Nightpelt, the ShadowClan warrior, nodded in agreement. Leave them. If they dare show their faces here again, ShadowClan will be strong enough by then to tackle them alone. The rest of the ShadowClan was huddled together in the ruins of their camp, as if numbed by realization that their leader had gone. It would take time to rebuild this clan, Firepaw thought. The kits! Firepaw heard Greypaw's meow from a far corner of the clearing. He rushed over to his friend, Mousefur and Whitestorm bounding at his heels. As they approached, they could hear the pitiful mewing of kits coming from beneath a pile of leaves and twigs. Quickly, Greypaw and Mousefur dug down through the foliage until they had uncovered the missing ThunderClan kits at the bottom of the small pit. Are they okay? Demanded Whitestorm, his tail twitching with anxiety. They're fine, replied Greypaw. Most have only a few scratches, but the little tabby has a pretty nasty wound on his ear. Can you take a look, Yellowfang? The old she-cat was licking her own wounds, but at Greypaw's call, she raced to the side of the pit where Greypaw had carefully deposited the tabby kit. Firepaw helped Greypaw to lift out the rest of the kits. The last one was gray, like the embers of an old fire. She mewed and squirmed as Firepaw placed her on the ground. Mousefur gathered all the kits to her and comforted them with licks and caresses. Yellowfang looked closely at the torn ear. We need to stop this bleeding, she meowed. Running Nose stepped out of the shadows. His forepaw was coated in a layer of cobwebs, which he silently passed to Yellowfang. She nodded her thanks and began to treat the kit's wound. Nightpelt approached the group of ThunderClan cats. He helped ShadowClan rid itself of a brutal and dangerous leader, and we are grateful. But it's time you left our camp and returned to your own. I promise your hunting grounds will be free of ShadowClan warriors as long as we find enough food in our own territory. Whitestorm nodded. Hunt in peace for 1 moon, Nightpelt. ThunderClan knows you need time to rebuild your clan. He turned to Yellowfang. And you, Yellowfang, he asked, do you wish to return with us or stay here with your old comrades? Yellowfang looked up at him. I'll make the journey back with you. She glanced at a deep gash on Whitestorm's hind leg. You will need a medicine cat for yourself as well as your kits. Thank you, purred Whitestorm. He signaled to the ThunderClan cats with a sweep of his tail and led them out of the clearing. Mousefur and Willowpelt helped the kids, who stumbled along, exhausted and bewildered. Yellowfang walked close to the wounded tabby kit, lifting him by the scruff of his neck every time he slipped. Firepaw and Greypaw followed them through the brambles, past the camp scent line, and out into the forest. The moon was still rising in the quiet sky as the ThunderClan party began the long trudge home, while around them showers of brown leaves fluttered to the forest floor. That was the end of chapter 24, and we have the final chapter. I'm going to go ahead and take a second and drink some water. Chapter 25, the last chapter of the book. I will be ending the stream after this chapter, and I will likely raid out. I saw that Wampus went live, so I may be raiding into Wampus, so you guys can have some fun there. Wampus is usually doing ASMR, but I think that they're actually playing a game today, so that should be fun. Buoyed up with relief at being home again, Firepaw and Greypaw sprinted ahead of the patrol into the ThunderClan camp. Frostfur was lying in the middle of the clearing, her head resting sadly on her paws. As the two princesses bounded in, she lifted her nose and sniffed the air. "My kits," she cried. She leapt up and raced past Firepaw and Greypaw to meet the rest of the party as they emerged from the tunnel. The kids rushed over to Frostfur and nuzzled into her side. They curled her soft body around them and licked them each in turn, purring loudly. Yellowfang hung back at the camp entrance and looked on silently. Bluestar strode up to the returning patrol. She glanced fondly at Frostfur and her kits, then turned her eyes to Whitestorm. "Are they all right?" she asked. "They're fine," meowed Whitestorm. "Well done, Whitestorm. ThunderClan honors you." Whitestorm bent his head to accept her praise, and added, "But it was thanks to this apprentice that we found them." Firepaw lifted his head and tail proudly, about to speak, but Tigerclaw's accusing snarl sounded from across the clearing. "Why did he bring back the traitor?" Dark Warrior stalked up to the patrol and stood beside his leader. "She is no traitor," Firepaw insisted. He looked around the camp. The rest of the cats had quickly gathered in the clearing to see the kits and congratulate the hunting party. Some of them had spotted Yellowfang and were eyeing her with looks of pure hatred. "She killed Spotted Leaf's fat Longtail." "Look between Spotted Leaf's claws," Greypaw suggested. "You'll find the fur that is brown of Clawface, not of Yellowfang's gray fur." Bluestar nodded at Mousefur, who darted away from the crowd toward the spot where Spotted Leaf's body lay, waiting for its dawn burial. The clan waited in tense silence till she returned. "Greypaw is right," Mousefur panted, rushing back to the clearing. Spotted Leaf was not attacked by a gray cat. A murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd. "But that doesn't mean she didn't help take the kits," hissed Tigerclaw. "Without Yellowfang, we never would have recovered the kits," Firepaw spat, his exhaustion making him impatient. "She knew that ShadowClan Warrior had taken them. She was hunting for them when I found her. She risked her life returning to the ShadowClan camp. It was Yellowfang We thought up the battle plan that got us into Shadow Clan camp and gave us a chance to defeat Broken Star. Cats listened to Firepaw's words, astonished. He's right. Whitestorm meowed. Yellowfang is a friend. I'm glad to hear it, murmured Bluestar, catching Firepaw's eye. Phosphor's anxious meow sounded from the crowd. Is Broken Star dead? She asked. No, he escaped, Whitestorm told her. But he will never lead Shadow Clan again. Phosphor sighed in relief and returned nuzzling her kits. Whitestorm looked at Bluestar. I promised Shadow Clan we would lead them in peace till next full moon, he explained. Broken Star's leadership has left their clan in chaos. Bluestar nodded. That was a wise and generous offer. She meowed approvingly. The ThunderClan leader walked past Whitestorm, and the rest of the patrol approached Yellowfang. Yellowfang lowered her eyes as Bluestar touched the gray cat's rough coat with her nose. Yellowfang, I wish you to replace Spotted Leaf as medicine cat to ThunderClan, Bluestar meowed. I'm sure you will do. Maybe I need more tea or something. Get some honey going. I wish you to replace Spotted Leaf as the medicine cat to ThunderClan, Bluestar meowed. I'm sure you'll find all her supplies as she left them. The other cats began to murmur to each other, tails flicking with excitement. Yellowfang looked around at them anxiously and said nothing. Phosphor glanced at the other queens before she met Yellowfang's gaze and slowly nodded her approval. Yellowfang bent her head respectfully to the white cat before addressing her new leader. Thank you, Bluestar. Shadow Clan is not the clan I once knew. ThunderClan is my clan now. Firepaw felt a surge of satisfaction that the old she-cat had come to love would be his clan's medicine cat. From now on, then his tail dropped as he realized that he would never find Spotted Leaf in her clearing, the sunlight gleaming on her soft fur, her amber eyes shining in welcome. Where's Ravenpaw? Meowed Bluestar suddenly, jolting Firepaw out of his bittersweet remembrances. Yes, Tigerclaw chimed in. Where is my apprentice? Strange that he should disappear along with Broken Star. He looked meaningfully around the clan. If you think he might have been helping Broken Star, Firepaw meowed boldly, then you are wrong. Tigerclaw stiffened, a menacing gleam in his yellow eyes. Ravenpaw is dead, Firepaw went on, dropping his head as if weighed down in grief. We found his body in Shadow Clan territory. From the sense around him, he must have been slain by the Shadow Clan patrol. He looked at Bluestar. I'll tell you everything later, he promised. Yellowfang shot Firepaw a questioning look. Firepaw returned a gaze with a silent plea for her to hold her tongue. She twitched her ears briefly in understanding and looked away. I never said that Ravenpaw was a traitor, hissed Tigerclaw. He paused and allowed an expression of sorrow to cloud his eyes before he returned to the... I'm messing up so much right now. Let me try that again. Yellowfang shot Firepaw a questioning look. Firepaw returned a gaze with a silent plea for her to hold her tongue. She twitched her ears briefly, understanding, and looked away. I never said that Ravenpaw was a traitor, hissed Tigerclaw. He paused and allowed an expression of sorrow to cloud his eyes before he turned to address the rest of the clan. Ravenpaw might have made a fine warrior. His death had come too soon, and his loss would be felt by many of us for a long time. Empty words, thought Firepaw bitterly. What would Tigerclaw say if he knew that Ravenpaw was safe, far beyond the forest catching rats with barley? Bluestar broke the silence. We'll miss Ravenpaw, but we shall mourn him tomorrow. First, there is another ritual that must be performed. One I know that Ravenpaw would have taken pleasure in. She turned to Firepaw and Greypaw. You have shown great courage tonight. Did they fight well, Whitestorm? She asked. Like warriors, Whitestorm replied solemnly. Bluestar met his yellow-eyed gaze and gave a slight nod. Then she lifted her chin and fixed her eyes on Silverpelt's swath of stars. Her voice rang out, clear and measured in the hushed woods. I, Bluestar, leader of ThunderClan, call upon my warrior ancestors to look down on these two apprentices. They have trained hard to understand the ways of your noble code, and I commend them to you as warriors in their turn. She looked down at Firepaw and Greypaw, narrowing her eyes. Firepaw, Greypaw, do you promise to uphold the warrior code and to protect and defend this clan, even at the cost of your lives? Firepaw felt something stir within him, a fire that burned his belly and rang in his ears. He suddenly felt that everything he had done for his clan so far, all the prey he'd stalked, all the enemy warriors he had fought, had been for the sake of this single moment. I do, he replied steadily. I do, echoed Greypaw, his fur bristling with excitement. Then by the powers of StarClan, I give you your warrior names. Greypaw, from this moment, you'll be known as Greystripe. StarClan honors your bravery and your strength, and we welcome you as a full warrior of ThunderClan. Bluestar stepped forward and rested her muzzle on top of Greystripe's bowed head. He bent lower to give her shoulder a respectful lick, then straightened up and walked over to join the other warriors. Bluestar stood and studied Firepaw for a long moment before speaking. Firepaw, from this moment, you'll be known as Fireheart. StarClan honors your bravery and your strength, and we welcome you as a full warrior of ThunderClan. She touched her muzzle to his head and murmured, Fireheart, I am proud to have you as my warrior. Serve your clan well, young one. So there is supposed to be an ad, but I'm going to go ahead and snooze it because we are only like 2 pages away. I'm snoozing that to save you guys some grief. Fireheart's muscles were trembling so much that he could hardly stoop to lick Bluestar's shoulder. He purred hoarsely to show his thanks and slipped away to stand beside Greystripe. Meows of tribute sounded from the crowd, and the voices of the clan rose in the still night air to chant the new warrior names. Fireheart, Greystripe, Fireheart, Greystripe. Fireheart looked around the clan, seeing faces that had grown so familiar over the past few moons. He listened to them as they called his new name and felt overwhelmed by the kindness and respect he saw shining in their eyes. It is almost moon high, meowed Bluestar. In the tradition of her ancestors, Fireheart and Greystripe must sit in silent vigil until dawn and guard the camp alone while we sleep. Fireheart and Greystripe nodded solemnly as the rest of the clan began to melt away back to their dens, Tiger Claw pushed past Fireheart. The ThunderClan deputy slowed as he passed and hissed quietly into his ear. Don't think you can outwit me, kitty pet. Be careful what you tell Bluestar. A cold shiver ran down Fireheart's spine. Bluestar had to know about Tiger Claw's treachery. As Tiger Claw headed back to the warrior's den, Fireheart left Graystripe sitting alone in the clearing and bounded after Bluestar. He caught up with her outside her den. Bluestar, I know I am breaking the vow of silence, but I must speak with you before I begin my vigil. Bluestar looked at Fireheart and shook her head. This is an important ritual, Fireheart. You can speak to me in the morning. Fireheart dipped his head in acceptance. Tiger Claw was not a problem that could be solved overnight anyway. He returned to Graystripe's side in the middle of the clearing. The two friends exchanged glances but said nothing. Fireheart looked at the moon above his head. His orange coat glowed silver in the cold light. Around him, the bushes and trees were draped in mist that brushed damply against his fur. Fireheart closed his eyes and recalled the dreams of his kittenhood. The cool forest scents in his nostrils were real now, and the life of a warrior stretched ahead of him. He felt unrestrained joy flood up from his paws and surge through his body, and he opened his eyes with a jolt, another pair of eyes shining back at him from the warrior's den. Tiger Claw. Fireheart stared back without blinking. He was a warrior now. He had made an enemy of the clan's deputy, but Tiger Claw had made an enemy of him. Fireheart was not the same naive young cat who had joined the clan all those moons ago. He was bigger, stronger, faster, and wiser. If he was destined to oppose Tiger Claw, then so be it. Fireheart was ready for the challenge. That was the end of the book. We have read all the way through Warriors into the Wild. So, as for the next book, I'll likely do another chapter, like maybe the prologue and everything of the next book, starting possibly either next week or next month. I am unsure yet. I have to take a look at it and see how long the chapters are to kind of gauge how much I can handle. Because just 2 hours and my voice feels restrained. Because it's endless talking. Anyway, I thank you guys for coming by. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Dawn of Clans is the best series. A very good story. Yeah, it's like the first series, and like there was like a series that came before that. Holy is being so silly doing the on-screen celebration. But I can't wait to actually finish the series. When I was in high school, I was unable to finish it because the library for the school did not have all the books. And I had actually asked for these books from my family, and they bought them for me for Christmas. And that's the reason why I have all of the series now. It's a lot cheaper now. But yeah. Thank you guys for coming by. And I will go ahead and catch you guys later. I will probably rate out. If you have any suggestions, feel free to tell me who to rate. Otherwise, I might just raid Wombus. So, thank you again. See you guys later. Abisuki out.